Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts television podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blanks and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC television podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. My name is Sarah, and I am going to be hosting now that Keith has sadly left us. We will miss him terribly. Keith's a good guy, and we had a lot of fun with him here at the GSMC Podcast Network, but he has moved on in his life's trajectory, and we wish him all the luck in the world. So go get him, Keith, whatever your plans are. Again, welcome to the television podcast, the GSMC television podcast. We're going to change the format a little bit, so, hopefully you like it. I, love to hear your thoughts. Talking a little bit more about television news, about shows that are being renewed, being canceled, coming out, changes in casting, changes in characters, those types of things. So a little bit more news about the world of television. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and my first story is one that is close to my heart, and that is about the potential Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot. Now, I came late to the Buffy the Vampire Slayer party. I started watching in season 5, so it's not like I came hugely late because it was still on air. But I started watching in season 5 because I couldn't find anything else to watch one night. First off, I had a friend who tried to explain the concept of Buffy to me when it first came out, and I thought it sounded like the dumbest show I'd ever heard, and I refused to watch it. And then one night, I couldn't find anything else to watch, and I landed on an episode that happened to be about Spike. If you know Buffy the Vampire Slayer, then you know Spike is a character, and I'm telling you, Spike sucked me in. So I started watching in season 5, backtracked and caught up with all the previous seasons, and I have been a fan ever since, and I've seen all of the episodes multiple times. So Buffy and Angel, seen all those episodes multiple times. So when I heard that there was a reboot in the works, I thought, oh, okay, I know they're doing a ton of reboots. My main question is, why does it have to be a reboot? And it's okay. There's not a lot of details, so maybe it won't be a reboot. It sounds like it's going to be a reboot. They ended the series, and I'm sorry if this is a spoiler, but the series has been over for a really long time. So if you haven't seen it, I can't say this is definitely a spoiler, but they activated all of the Slayers in the world. So why can't we just have a continuation of the story? Does it have to be Buffy? Can it not be the continuation of the story and moving on with all of those Slayers who have been now activated? Well, it doesn't sound like it. So it does sound like it is a reboot of the original series, which was based on a movie also by Joss Whedon. I've never seen the movie. I just realized that. Maybe one of these days, but I am a big fan of the series. So there is, as I said, a reboot in the works. According to 20th Century Fox's announcement of the series, the plan is to make the show feel richly diverse. There is talk that Buffy, the main character, may be played by a person of color. I'm cool with that. I really am cool with a diverse cast, all of those great things. Just I should wait and see how it turns out. I'm still iffy on the reboot, let me just tell you. Midnight Texas creator Monica Owusu Breen will be the showrunner. So what she says is, for some genre writers, it's Star Wars. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my Star Wars. Before I became a writer, I was a fan. For 7 seasons, I watched Buffy Summers grow up, find love, kill that love. I watched her fight and struggle and slay. There's only one Buffy, one Xander, one Willow, Giles, Cordelia, Oz, Tara, Kendra, Faith, Spike, Angel. They can't be replaced. Joss Whedon's brilliant and beautiful series can't be replicated. So it sounds like, she's saying all the right things, at least for me. She continues, I wouldn't try to replicate it, but here we are 20 years later, and the world seems a lot scarier. So maybe it could be time to meet a new Slayer, and that's all I can say. Okay, so we don't have a script yet. We don't know really when it's going to air. We don't know how it's going to air. Is it going to be streaming? And if so, on what platform will it be streaming? I will definitely be keeping an eye out for this, though. Buffy, the original series was about how the problems of high school, the scary things in the world that they were slaying were representative and indicative of the scary things in the real world. And so there's a lot of scary stuff in the world. There's still a lot of scary stuff in the world. So let's get out there and slay some stuff. Owusu Breen has promised not to recast any of the original crew. So that does leave the door open for cameos, I guess. We'll see. I don't know how I feel about them. I do want to see cameos. Of course I want to see cameos, but if it's a reboot, then they can't be their characters. They have to be someone else. And I know I'm overthinking it. So anyway, those are my thoughts on all of this great stuff. I am looking forward to it. I won't say that I am excited and thinking it's going to be the absolute bestest thing ever in the whole world, but it could be. I'm not gonna close the door on the fact that it could be the bestest thing in the whole world. Maybe it will disappoint me, maybe not. I don't know. Let's move on. You're probably saying, thank you, move on, crazy Buffy lady. We are going to move on to more news in the world of television, and that is that season 3 of The Handmaid's Tale is out soon. It will be premiering June 5th, and there's speculation already. Handmaid's Tale, in case you need a refresher, is based on the novel of the same name by Margaret Atwood. Very, very disturbing stuff, hard to read, but kind of timely right now, and it's definitely a dystopia. The first season is based on The Handmaid's Tale, and it was so popular that they renewed it for a second season, so they've kind of moved beyond Margaret Atwood's original tale, and now they are moving into a third season. Margaret Atwood has written a sequel, which is exciting for a lot of people. One of the reviews that I read, an early review on season 3, is that 2 years later, the world has moved along and The Handmaid's Tale has not. This is not to say that the new season, produced many months ago, needed to anticipate or to address restrictions on reproductive rights from Georgia to Alabama to Ohio. To some degree, that's what the show was doing when it started. What the first 6 new episodes lack isn't prescience, but a sense that the show has anything new to say or any conversations it's hoping to advance. Or as a show we once treated as idea-driven, now content with being a wonderfully acted, beautifully shot, and frustratingly repetitive thriller. So I'm wondering what, I'm not going to read more into that because I don't want to give away any spoilers, but, it's an amazing cast. Elizabeth Moss, Alexis Bledel, Bradley Whitford joined last season. It's really, again, an amazing cast. And as this said, Joseph Fine, Yvonne Strovsky. I can't speak today. I'm sorry. So again, I'm going to say it once again because I keep repeating myself. It is an amazing cast. It has been critically acclaimed, and even this review that is frustrated with it can still admit and say that it is wonderfully acted, beautifully shot. It's still a thriller, still will keep you maybe on the edge of your seat. They are just finding it a bit repetitive. Now, this, of course, is only one review, and I am curious to find out what other people are going to say. Curious to find out what fans will think of it when it premieres next week, when it comes back, and see what the fan reaction is. I'm sure some people will be happy with the changes or with the progression of the show. Other people will be frustrated. I know people were frustrated during season 2, so we'll see if season 3 redeems that frustration or simply perpetuates it. But it is coming back June 5th, and it's very popular. So we are going to take our first break of the podcast. When we come back, we'll be talking about the new season of The Good Fight, Big Little Lies, and more television news. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Television Podcast, and I will be right back.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Television Podcast. Before the break, I was talking about the Buffy reboot and season 3 of The Handmaid's Tale, moving along from, two thrillers in very different genres, or very different types. It's kind of the fun thing about thrillers is there's so many different subgenres of that main genre, both scary in their own way. I mentioned that we'd be talking about The Good Fight and Big Little Lies. The Good Fight actually is airing the first season on CBS this summer. So if you are unfamiliar with The Good Fight, it is a spin-off of The Good Wife. Christine Baranski was a character in The Good Wife with Juliana Margulies, and when that series ended, then The Good Fight was a spin-off. So the first 3 seasons are available on CBS All Access. It has been renewed for a 4th season. So CBS is now going to be airing the first season on Sundays this summer on CBS. So people who maybe don't have All Access can catch up, maybe get invested in the characters, etc. For 3 seasons, The Good Fight has been a big success for CBS All Access. CBS Entertainment President Kelly Call said in a statement, "We're excited to provide our network audience the opportunity to catch up with characters they first fell in love with on The Good Wife, as well as introduce new viewers to this outstanding, critically acclaimed drama." There is a follow-up quote to that. This one from Executive Vice President of Original Content at CBS All Access, Julie McNamara, and she says, "The Good Fight was the first original series to launch on CBS All Access and continues to be a major driver for our service as it heads into its upcoming 4th season." With the network's special summer broadcast of The Good Fight's first season, we look forward to not only introducing the series to new audiences, but also creating further awareness for CBS All Access, where viewers can continue to binge the 2nd and 3rd seasons of this exceptional series. So the first 2 episodes of season 1 will air beginning at 9/8 Central on June 16th. Episodes 3 and 4 will air at the same time on June 23rd. Then beginning June 30th, 1 episode will air a week at 10/9 Central. The Good Fight begins 1 year after The Good Wife series finale. So if you liked The Good Wife, then you can kind of pick up some of that with at least some of the characters. For instance, Christine Baranski's character of Diane Lockhart. And I love Christine Baranski. I think she is a broad in the best sense of the word. She always plays such great, strong characters that are a little bit scary sometimes. Scary in a good way. I really like her as an actress, and I watched part of The Good Wife, and then I got sidetracked from, I don't even remember why, and didn't see the last few seasons, so I would need to catch up with that. And then, but this, you can probably still jump in here because it is a spinoff. So I may put this on my DVR. We'll see. Tell me what you think. If you use CBS All Access, there's so many apps out there where you can add them to your smart TV or your internet, or however you watch, your Roku or whatever it is you use, and then binge watch certain shows. My husband and I actually spent the weekend binge watching on the Discovery Go app. We binge watched a show, and so there's so many television shows out there and so many ways to watch them. It's actually kind of cool. And so CBS All Access, if you have the app, what do you think about it? Is it something that you use all the time? Are you thinking about using it? Would watching season 1 maybe encourage you to get the app, do you think? Something to think about. Another season of Big Little Lies is also forthcoming, and some interesting news regarding the TV this show. Excuse me. When writing Big Little Lies Season 2, Leanne Moriarty, who wrote the novel the series was based on and is a producer on the show, had a trick up her sleeve. So, to backtrack a little bit, in case you haven't heard of Big Little Lies, it is a Netflix original. It is based on the novel by the same name, of course, by Leanne Moriarty. She is now a producer on the show, and she created a new character who is the grieving mother of another character. I don't want to say who in case you haven't seen it, and I don't want to give anything away, but she created a new character and named her Mary Louise. Well, Meryl Streep is going to be on Big Little Lies, and she says Mary Louise is my actual legal name. Streep said she joined the project without reading a script and thought the first season of the show was the greatest thing on TV. Other actors in the show are Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon, and someone whose name that just flew out of my head, Shailene Woodley. Sorry, Shailene, I didn't mean to forget your name. So it's got a great cast. Season 1 was well received and went on kind of like The Handmaid's Tale, series based on a book, and then well received, so goes on for a second season. Always interesting to see how that works. Nicole Kidman was also on the same panel as Meryl Streep. She said that was Leanne Moriarty. That was her telepathic message to you, Meryl, because the cast did not know that. We did not know that was your name, Kidman said. Leanne wrote the novella and said, "Get me Meryl Streep." Kidman also calls the new season jaw-dropping. So Streep praises the complex portrayal of the women in the series and says that Big Little Lies viewers will see her character head into a dark place following the murder of her son. So, yeah, Meryl Streep is amazing, of course, and that's another thing. I was just talking about streaming and how all of the apps make things so much more convenient. But another aspect of streaming and all the different platforms that there are now for shows, it's really interesting to see the crossover with actors, because Meryl Streep, of course, we tend to think of her as more of a big screen actor. Same thing for me with actually the whole cast. Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon, Shailene Woodley, they tend to do movies, but now with all these different platforms and all these different options, you see a lot more crossover. So I think that that's amazing. So Nicole Kidman and Reese Witherspoon did option the book rights for screen in 2014, and Streep said, "I was of a generation that waited to be asked to dance, and I'm so admiring of you for getting on the balls of your feet and looking for material." This is what Streep said to Witherspoon, who was also on this same panel. Giddy Witherspoon then asked for whoever filmed that to send it to her so she could post it to Instagram tomorrow for proof that it actually happened. So it sounds like Kidman, Witherspoon, and Woodley are all very excited that Streep is joining the cast. And Streep sounds excited about doing this. So Big Little Lies premieres June 9th on HBO. So lots of good stuff coming out in June, the first part of June, it sounds like. So you better strap in and get ready for some summer viewing. When I was growing up, it was always fall premieres, and now again with streaming and all of the different platforms, you get premieres throughout the year. So that's kind of cool also. It is time to take our second break of the podcast. When we come back, we will have a few more stories on television news and go from there. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Television Podcast, and I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Television Podcast, and we are talking about some more television news. If you are a fan of comics, maybe you have been looking forward to Stumptown, which is a TV adaptation of the Oni Press comics written by Greg Rucka, and the series is coming to ABC this fall. It has already had a recast. So in the pilot, Mark Webber was cast to play Gray McDonald, who is the main character's ex and best friend. He has now been replaced by Jake Johnson. You may know Jake Johnson from the show The New Girl, and this is his first regular live action role since that show went off the air in May of 2018. It was on for 7 seasons. So, in case you aren't a comic book fan or haven't heard of this particular comic book and series, it is, Stumptown follows Dex Perios, who's played by Colby Smulders, a strong, assertive, and sharp-witted Army veteran with a complicated love life, gambling debt, and a brother to take care of in Portland, Oregon. Her military intelligence skills make her a great PI, but her unapologetic style puts her in the firing line of hardcore criminals and not quite in alliance with the police. Johnson's Gray McConnell is Dex's best friend, though the two have unresolved feelings that run deeper. He owns and operates a popular bar in town, all the while hiding a questionable past that comes back to bite him. The series also co-stars Tantu Cardinal, Cole Sebus, Adrian Martinez, Cameron Manheim, and Michael Ealy. So it will be interesting to see how that change goes. These are things that are kind of, eventually become the stuff of legend. If this becomes a popular show, then years from now, people will be like, yes, but in the pilot, it was this way, and then they changed it. And there's all that, it's not unprecedented to have. In fact, it's fairly common to have actors changed after the pilot and then the show is picked up. So, this airs in the fall, and we shall see how it goes and how that casting change works out. Moving on to some more comic-adjacent news. Arnold Schwarzenegger is set to star in Superhero Kindergarten, a series from Stan Lee. I love how Stan Lee is still entertaining us, even from the beyond. So Arnold Schwarzenegger is apparently going back to kindergarten. I am looking at the cover of the show, Superhero Kindergarten. It looks very fun. I mean, you're not supposed to judge books by the cover. You're probably not supposed to judge a TV series by the cover either, but it kind of looks a little bit like Super Y or one of those PBS cartoons. It kind of looks like a combination of Super Y and Magic School Bus. I'm just looking at the cover. Don't take my word on that for the show itself. I'm just looking at the cover, okay? So don't say, oh my gosh, that one lady said blah, blah, blah. But anyway, Arnold Schwarzenegger will top line an animated superhero series titled Superhero Kindergarten, which is aimed at preschoolers. The series was created by Stan Lee and was his final project before his death last November. It is a co-production between Genius Brands, Lee's POW Entertainment, and Schwarzenegger's Oak Production. Schwarzenegger, who also serves as executive producer, will voice the lead character, Arnold Armstrong, also known as Captain Courage. Here is a description of the series, courtesy of Genius Brands. Many years ago, Arnold Armstrong was just an average gym teacher who acquired incredible superpowers when the Earth passed through the ionic dust left in the wake of a mysterious comet. As a result, Arnold transformed into Captain Courage, one of the Earth's greatest protectors. For decades, Captain Courage traveled the planet, stopping evil in the name of justice and fair play. But 5 years ago, he faced his final battle against his arch-nemesis, Dr. Superior, and in defeating his foe, Captain Courage was forced to expend all his powers. Arnold Armstrong was forced to end his career as Captain Courage until a massive explosion of super-energy particles came raining down and rumors of super-powered children began surfacing. Now Arnold must serve humanity once again by working undercover as a brand new kindergarten teacher whose main task is to train this unique new generation of super-powered 5-year-olds secretly. I am in love with this already. I hope it's half as good as that description is, because I will watch the heck out of that. Yes, it's aimed at preschoolers. I don't have a problem with that. Many years ago, I was a preschooler, so I like to just channel my inner preschooler sometimes. This project was apparently very close to Stan Lee's heart. He worked with one of his longtime collaborators, Andy Hayward, as well as Arnold Schwarzenegger. And there is a quote that we look forward to continuing the partnership with Genius Brands to bring Stan's vision for this new adventure series to life. This was said by POW Entertainment President Gil Champion. So I am looking forward to that. And yeah, again, don't care that it's aimed at preschoolers. I'm okay with that. Hey, I'm the person that will still watch Sesame Street if I'm flipping through the channels and it's on. So I'm not ashamed to admit it. But I will move on to our last story for this episode, and that is the Masterchef premiere, season 10 premiere, which was today. Now, Masterchef, I think, is one of those shows that people love to hate. Oh man, he's Gordon Ramsay. He yells so much. But it is season 10, and so today is the premiere of the season 10 auditions, and it's part 1. So if you are a MasterChef fan, that is today on Fox. And it is called the Epic 10th Season Auditions, part 1. Not the most original of names, but hey. Oh, goodness. So in the season 10 premiere, 36 home cooks enter the MasterChef kitchen in hopes of making it to the top 20. After a few surprise visitors greet the eager contestants, the cooks learn they will participate in audition rounds, undergoing evaluation from the judges. Only the best of the best will earn an apron and move forward in the competition. A special twist called the Judges Pass will prove to be extremely valuable to one lucky individual. How are you feeling about this MasterChef season premiere? Are you a fan of MasterChef? Are you a fan of Gordon Ramsay himself? Do you like his style? He's not everybody's favorite kind of person. He's not my favorite person to watch. I just can't deal with all the yelling. He does when he works with kids, he's much kinder, thank goodness, because if he yelled at them as much as he yells at adults, especially using the language that he frequently uses, that would be horrifying. But season 10, clearly they're doing something right if this is season 10 of Masterchef. So I am wondering, are you a fan of the show? Are you a fan of Gordon Ramsay? Are you excited about some of the twists that they have for this new season? Are you a fan of cooking shows in general? I love cooking shows. I like to watch them and pretend that I can cook and I like to cook, but I am certainly nowhere near talented enough to ever be on a reality cooking show. So I won't be on a reality cooking show. Let's just put it that way. And certainly not one with someone like Gordon Ramsay who would yell at me constantly. I'd just cry the whole time. I'd be like, nope, I'm done. I'm out. So speaking of done and out, that is the conclusion of this week's episode of the GSMC Television Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me for my first foray into this podcast. Please join me again next week when we will talk about more shows, more TV news. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.